Hey there, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the 704 High School Highlight Podcast. My name is Jeff Taylor, Sports Director here at Bahakel Sports. Thanks for taking time to check out our podcast. Of course, as always, make sure you subscribe to it, like, comment, share. You guys are important to us. This is how we succeed, is with you guys following us. So thanks for doing that. Joined today by two very special guests. I have Matt Turse here, Kevin Olsen over here, and we're going to get to know them a little bit, get to know a little bit about their upbringing in terms of sports, and now what they're doing to kind of further high school sports. So we're going to, thanks, by the way, guys, for joining.
Very
Matt, we'll
good
start
to be
with you.
here. Thank you, Jeff.
Hey,
Yes.
we'll talk with you first. So just talk to me a little bit about growing up.
Yeah.
High school sports, how were you involved?
Yeah.
What did that look like?
Growing up, I grew up in Central Florida and was born and raised there basically my whole life. But I was involved just like every little kid in my area with football, basketball, baseball. Of course, we didn't have anything like hockey and stuff.
Right.
But
You do now some.
well, yeah, they do now. They really didn't have much lacrosse down there when I was
Right.
growing up, so that's a difference now. But I really gravitated towards playing football. That was my heart and soul. That was my passion. I remember my dad used to tell a story when I was between 8 and 10 years old. I'd sleep with the football before game night every
Wow.
single night. So, but I really loved it. So I played up through and into the beginning of high school, and then I just wasn't built for it any longer.
Right.
So I went back to my secondary sport, which was baseball. And I actually did pretty well, and I played till I was 18, 19 years old even in baseball. And then I never made it in college or anything like that. And as soon as I turned 20 years old, I had a lot of people saying, have you ever thought about getting in coaching? And my
Right.
father was a coach for a long time also. But it hadn't really dawned on me that much yet. I was still in the mindset of playing.
Sure.
So I got into coaching and immediately got involved with the Lyman High School Pop Warner program down there.
Yep.
And became an assistant coach and then ultimately head coach, and coached there for probably 10 or 12 straight years. And I started working with the high school freshman team, and my helping at that point was really based on helping an 8th grader become a 9th grader.
Right.
In more than just sports.
It's a big
in
transition.
life and,
Yeah.
and in football. So I did that, and not to bore you with all the details, but we had a good program down there, and we really tried to make a streamline from Pop Warner into. We used to play on their high school field, so
Right.
they got to go to all the Friday night games.
Which is what the kids
and
love.
stuff. They were all in their jerseys
Right.
to go to the games, stuff like that. And then fast forward 10 years ago, I moved up here, and I had no intention of getting back in coaching, but my son wanted to play Pop Warner, so he got involved over at Mallard Creek, and I was just the dad for
Right.
a good 4 to 6 weeks, and they asked me to help out. So I helped out, and then the next year I became a head coach.
Right.
Coach there for I believe three or 4 years, and my son shifted gears again. Literally went quarter midget racing.
That's fantastic.
And
I love that.
He took a break, which shocked me because he loved football as much as I did, but he was really a very gifted race car driver. So we raced up there until last year. He said, "Dad, it's time to go back to football," as a 7th grader. And again, I think I was telling you earlier, I had no intention of coaching again.
Right.
Went to a parent-teacher meeting or a parent-coach meeting for the football team, Bahakel Leadership Academy, which we can all talk about later. And the head coach there asked me if I wanted to, be the head coach for the junior high team. So that last year was our first year. We had to work off-site the whole year. The building wasn't built. The field wasn't built. Our practices were at a different location. Every game was on the road. These kids had never been together before.
Anybody's backyard practice?
Yeah, backyard practice, a lot of that. Cow pasture practice, all that good stuff. And it was a big time learning curve for everyone because not only coaching staff, all the kids had never, basically very few of them had grew up together.
Right.
So we all joined forces, and we did a good job. We didn't win any games last year.
Hey.
But we did the best we could. And now
Building blocks.
very excited for this year because now we're at our home, Bahakel Leadership Academy. We have a brand new field. It is beautiful. And we have the facilities are getting bigger every day. We're adding stuff to it every day, and there's plans for our field house and everything. So we just started spring practice 2 days ago, and then we'll run into summer, and then we'll get ready for the season.
And where's that school located?
It's in Huntersville.
Okay, it's Huntersville.
Yep.
Got it.
So that's kind of like the very short version.
Short version.
So
That's
won't bore
awesome.
you, but yeah, I'm having a blast doing it again. And the kids, I love the kids there. And you'll be talking to Coach Olsen. I'm blessed to be a friend of his, and
Yeah.
he's in the program. So.
All right, Coach. Kevin Olsen. So talk to me a little bit about because I don't know a whole lot about you,
Yeah.
but know a little bit about your brother. But
Right.
But in terms of growing up, talk to me just about your journey a little bit.
So growing up, I think I grew up in northern New Jersey, right outside New York City. Played for my father. I have two older brothers. I'm the youngest. We all played for him. Kind of grew up in what you would say is a football family, right? In a sports kind of oriented family. My father obviously coached for his entire career, 40 years or so, 30 of them at the school that we attended. And we were pretty good. We didn't have the ton of the recruits and kind of that stuff that you see down here, right? From Mallard Creek and the Huffs and the Chambers of the world, right? We didn't have a ton of them, but we did it the right way, and we played in 17 of 19 state champions, state championships before he left. I won 2 myself, and we were kind of we did it the right way, right?
Sure,
Which
yeah.
kind of segues into I kind of saw it helps my coaching aspects as I go down as I got down the road. But so after high school, I went to University of Miami. I played in the Under Armour All-American game, Elite 11, all that kind of stuff out there. And after Miami, I kind of transitioned to junior college out in Southern California, Riverside City College, where we were pretty solid. It was known for getting guys back out. That was pre-portal, right. So it wasn't for me to play or anybody to play immediately, they had to go down to the FCS,
Right, sure.
to be immediately eligible. So I obviously went the JUCO route. We played, we were the number 1 team in the country. Got beat by, I think, Saddleback or somebody, one of those in like the semifinals or something.
Right.
And then I graduated and finished up here at UNCC.
Right.
After that, I kicked it around, played in the spring league for a little bit. Where we were the first ones to test the new kickoff rule and all those XFL rules that are coming out now.
Not liking it, but we can talk about that later.
Right. We were the first ones to test it.
Right.
Because the XFL was coming out that next year, that next season. So we tested all the kickoff rules and the overtime where it was like kind of like a shootout, all that kind of stuff. So that was cool. And I always knew, even as a little kid, watching my father and watching, coaching was going to be in my future in some capacity at some point.
Sure.
Everybody's playing career comes to an end. Sometimes
Right.
longer than others.
Sure.
And kind of foresaw that was going to happen eventually, and I kind of knew coaching was something I wanted to do. Not always high school. Kind of thought maybe college was going to be my route, but once I got into the high school and kind of saw, the impact that I could have on the young adults, right, and young, our future as a country, is in their hands.
Right, sure.
And I think, having some of the, trials and tribulations and kind of things I've had, to get through in my life, I think I was kind of put on this earth and put in this position to help, the young kids, right, and help young adults get through things that, maybe I made the wrong decision, or I know somebody that made the wrong decision, I can help them, right? If I can just help one person not make that decision, right, and go to school for free, graduate, and all those kind of things, which is really kind of what I feel I was put here for, both teaching-wise and coaching.
And I think both you guys mentioned it, and I can come back to you with it. I think that, and I coached for 10 years at Pop Warner, never did any high school or anything, but I did officiate. And even officiating, you can have an impact on kids.
No question.
And the way the game is played and stuff like that. But I think that's, to me, I felt was the toughest part of coaching was, you want to win, I get it. But at the end of the day, it's building young men and women nowadays. How tough is it to pull away not wanting to win? You know what I'm trying to get at?
Yes.
I mean, you want to win, but walking that fine line of doing both, that's kind of a tough deal sometimes.
So I will say that I think personally they kind of go hand in hand. I think when you do things the right way, right, and your program is run the right way and led by the right leaders, that winning is a byproduct of that.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
I think that it kind of breeds that kind of actions, whether it's for us in high school, to another teacher out in the community, to the administration, to any leader, how we act towards them. I think all that trickles to being a good football team as well. Right. Because being respectful to the teachers or the refs on the field or anything trickles down to not jumping off sides on 4th down. Right, not jumping off sides. All that stuff goes hand in hand. Usually the same students, same kids, even up to the NFL that are problems off the field are the guys that get you beat on the field. Right, so if you do the right things off the field, I think that it kind of breeds that success, right? And it breeds that. I don't have a lot of teams off the top of my head that are dysfunctional off the field or as an organization in any capacity that are really good on the court, on the field, on the ice, on the playing surface.
Yes, no, agree.
So I think that's kind of our, especially that's kind of what we did in our high school at where we came from in New Jersey.
Right.
Besides my brothers and I, a few other people went to like Sacred Heart and a couple of those, but we didn't have any, Alabama, Ohio State, but we did things the right way. We weren't going to jump off sides. We were going to be, we were going to be on time. Everybody was on time to meetings, workouts, everything. And I think that bred our success to a degree.
Is that kind of the message that's at your school now?
Yeah,
As you think about coaching?
That's absolutely the message, especially because we are a startup. We're brand new, and a couple of things over the last couple of years have kind of shocked me a little bit since I did step away.
Right.
Coming back in and seeing how many young men and, like you said, young girls also have not played football at this age yet has been a little bit of a shock. And I reached back down to my Pop Warner contacts, and they said, Matt, we used to have 2 junior midget teams, 2 Pee Wee teams, 2 junior Pee Wee teams, and now we're not fielding 1 team. And
we had 10. Well, we had 10.
There's
like
2 different aspects of that. I think too is football gets a bad rap for parents when they're young if they don't truly understand the safety of it, right? And if coaches are not teaching them the safety of tackling. And the helmets up came a long way. People don't truly understand that, as well as some of those youth programs have a weight limit. So some of those big kids are not bad. They're not overweight. They're too heavy to play in those leagues. They got to scrap. Right? I get you don't want the big kid to carry
kill the
ball,
little. Yeah, right.
but
right.
He can play center.
Yeah.
He can play guard. Right. He can play defensive tackle. Right. And some of those kids are being told they can't play because they can't cut that much weight. It's not healthy.
Well,
and they don't play until they're in 9th grade. And now we get them and they don't have a clue where they could have at least played. It's a detriment to the high schools, I think.
That's one of the reasons I really prefer the junior high instead of the senior midget Pop Warner, because there is no weight limit for us. Now I know there's other organizations, because some approached me when I wasn't coaching unrestricted weight limit or whatever it's called.
Usually not in Pop Warner, I don't think.
But I do think there's more to it, and you're probably more tuned into this than we even are of why this is happening. What's your opinion?
I think that so when I coached Pop Warner at Mara for the 10 years, same thing. We had 15 teams representing all of them, all the age groups, and now they're 4.
That's right.
And I think it's twofold. I think when the concussion story came out, and we saw people start to step away, even Luke. When we talk about Luke Kuechly, who to me
prime of his career
is I will argue to whoever till I'm blue in the face, one of the best defensive players I've ever seen, if not the best, when it comes to pure player. And if I ever had to show Pop Warner kids how to tackle, very rarely did I see Luke try to throw an elbow, knock a guy on his butt, try to clean his clock. It was always head up. I'm gonna how many missed tackles did he have? And I think that just becomes, as the years have progressed and we've gotten into that concussion stuff, and the CT and all that, that's where it's kind of gotten the bad rap to a point. But also it goes back to what you said in terms, and I'll go back and I'll tell everybody out there, if you're thinking about not letting your kid play, I coached for 10 years. In that 10 years, and I don't know how many kids I coached, 1 broken arm, and I think 1 concussion.
Yep.
Literally in the 10 years. And at the end of the day, to see it kind of dwindle to that point is sad, because the kids who I had a chance to coach and see play, there was a kid by the name of Jordan Fair who played linebacker at Providence and then went on to play at App State. Okay. And actually, it was during the COVID years when the NFL didn't have the preseason games. He was undrafted with the Minnesota Vikings. I think had they had that those preseason games, he'd be playing in the NFL. But
those games are for.
But that kid just when he got signed with the Vikings and they had him on a show or whatever, and they were like, is there one particular coach who hit home with you or whatever? And he mentioned me.
Right.
Wow.
Being his first, Pop Warner coach.
That's what it's all about.
Right? And I think it gets back to, I think we've kind of lost our way with coaching. In terms of the win first mentality. And this is a podcast. I throw it all out there. Kids just wanting to lay kids out.
Yeah. They've been watching.
And I don't think the NFL. Oh, this is going to go down a bad road. This is going to go down a bad road. I don't think the NFL has helped in some of that, because you still get the not so great tackling.
Right.
And I think so with the injuries I think that's what's happened.
I do too.
And like I said, it's sad, and it's going to hurt the game. And even the whole, you mentioned middle school, CMS. they don't do sixth grade football.
No.
But they go to the school.
But they go to school. So my kid who played at Providence, Nate, my youngest, he had to play a year in sixth grade in Pop Warner.
Right, like our kids used to
It's
play
the same here.
And
the
then
Giants.
and then
Yeah,
you know
that's
this
right.
yeah.
And then they would play seventh grade for Bailey.
Correct.
We never
That's
liked
where
the
we're at
Illinois
right now.
Giants.
Still.
We always got crushed by the Giants.
Really?
Oh, we got crushed all
Were
the
they
time.
pretty solid?
They were good.
Oh, they were.
We
dude,
were good.
Mallard
Better
Creek
than
and Lake
Mallard Creek was
Norman.
Yeah.
My kids would literally walk out on the field, and I would just be like,
Really?
"This is gonna be ugly."
When
from
it
the
came
get-go."
to
Now
just-
the other,
it was-
Greg's kids playing a couple of now. They're the South Charlotte, I think, or something like that. But
The Patriots.
the Patriots. Odell School's really good.
Odell Eagles.
Yeah, they're good.
But I think, but yeah, and I think it's just become kind of this. And I'm gonna be honest with you, and we're gonna shift. This is why I love podcasts so much, and I'll just throw this at you guys. I think football, in my opinion, and I'm 56, is lost some of its purity. And what I mean by that is, like, you know, to me, Pop Warner football, you're talking about the purity of the sport.
Yep.
High school, you're still talking about the purity of the sport,
Yep.
but you still get kids on Instagram going, hey, I'm going from this school to this school.
Right.
Yep.
It's high school.
Yep.
Right.
Stop it. College, the transfer portal, the
Oh, boy.
NIL, you know, all of that.
It's not even college.
That's 10 more
Well,
podcasts right
and,
there.
and well,
Those are
no, and I'm
professionals.
gonna ask,
Professionals now.
and I'll ask you guys because I've done it on every time I've talked football,
Yeah.
whether it's been a coach or a player. I don't like the transfer portal. I've never liked it, and that's just my 2 cents. But let me just preface this by saying, I don't like the transfer portal when it's kid going from point A to point B to point C, and is it because the playing time? Is it the work ethic?
Is it too hard?
Or you know, but then I also understand that if I was at, you know, Colorado and Coach Prime walked in and said, "Hey, I'm bringing my dogs with me.
Better leave."
You guys need to earn your spots," and I've been there for 3 years, I'm out the door.
You're gone.
I think the transfer portal to me, what I don't like about it per se is, and I'll go the basketball route. I remember talking to Tony Bennett, the head coach of UVA, and he said, "Look, I had 6 spots open this year in Virginia. 5 of them were scholarships.
Yep.
That left me 1 spot for a freshman."
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think that just has become, when you think about the little kids now, parents are going, you know, it used to be, okay, I can play Pop Warner, I can go to middle school, I can go to high school, I can go to college, I can maybe end up in the NFL, even though it's such small numbers. But now it's like, if I'm a senior in college right now and I've busted my hump for 4 years, 6 years, 8 years,
Yep.
and I don't even get a glance.
No, I know.
With that, I think, that there's a couple of different aspects, I think, with the transfer portal and NIL. I think that both of them together have been an issue. Because now NIL is now allowing people to influence the portal.
Absolutely.
Right? So if you just did one or the other,
Yes. Yeah.
I get the argument of, if I'm the head coach at Miami, I can leave tomorrow without an issue. I don't have to sit out at my next school.
Right.
But I can.
Right.
I gotta go to Elon to play
Exactly.
eligible,
Right.
be eligible
Right.
immediately. I get that. But
Yeah.
now the influences of the Texases of the world, the Georgias of the world, the Alabamas of the world, the Tennessees, when they're saying they're in the portal, they don't have the do not contact tag, so anybody can contact them. And now they're saying, you come here, we'll do 3. Oh no, wait, Georgia said 3, we'll do 4.5 in a car.
Right.
That's the problem with the transfer portal.
Right.
Kids transferring has been forever. It's hurting the JUCOs, obviously, because
Right.
they're not getting those kids. And it's hurting the high school kids, like you just said in
Yeah.
basketball. It's hurting those kids, but I think that they had it going in the right direction, and I think it got out of hand.
I think the regulation, what we're talking about is regulation.
It got out of hand.
And I think the regulation part of it is just, you know, and even NIL, like you said. So I think we're losing some of the purity of what the sport,
Big time.
you know, and to me, as you know, listen, my family, that's the only sport that exists.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it just does. I
No, I
mean,
know, yeah.
even my wife, God bless her, and I give her credit all the time. I mean, you know, she lives with 4 guys or whatever, but, and just long story short, so she's a Seattle Seahawks fan.
Okay?
My youngest one is a Seattle Seahawks fan. He watched them how many years ago and just
Yeah.
and he's been a
That's
fan.
how it happens, yeah.
My oldest is a Panther fan.
Love that.
Has been. I took him out to Charlotte Motor Speedway. I don't know how many years ago. Father son worked there or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
It was when Greg was driving the pace car.
Oh, we were there.
So he got to interview Greg, and it was
Oh,
the
that was so
best day
cool.
of his life.
We were all there. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so, long story short, and then my middle kid is a Patriots fan.
Not going great for him right
No,
now.
not well. And I'm a I was a Houston Oiler fan.
Okay.
It's my son's team.
back in the day, and now I'm a Titans fan. I just have been and will always be.
He's a Texans fan.
Hate losing Derrick Henry, but
I mean,
anyway.
that was their entire offense. What were they thinking? The whole offense is built around Derrick Henry.
Again,
I don't. Yeah,
a
well,
whole nother podcast.
that's another whole podcast.
A whole nother whole.
But long story short, though, but like, it's just we love the sport, and I just feel like it's
The
losing
purity
some-
is what.
It's losing its purity too because of I look on Instagram and there's 5th grade rankings.
No, I know.
Right?
I
Yeah,
think
like
that plays
well,
into your
and-
point. I get in high school they're going to rank the guys they have to. They're going to
Sure.
college, rivals. That's how they make them. But like in 6th grade, and I'm the 20th ranked
Okay.
quarterback in the world. Like what?
So you have your passing camp,
Yeah.
the Olsen Passing Camp,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
And so, talk to me a little bit about that, because I'm gonna get over to you in a second. Let's talk
Absolutely.
about that because I have another question for you.
Okay.
But talk to me about that. How did that kind of come about?
So I always knew quarterback was kind of my specialty. Obviously played it, kind of studied it, and that stuff, and offense in general. And I always knew that, training quarterbacks and stuff was going to be something that I wanted to have, interest in and kind of thought about it and mold it over. And then, kind of hit the ground running with the OPA or Olsen Passing Academy. And now I have, 30, 40, 50 clients on a, week to week. Everything is so different. Schedules are so crazy, 7-on-7 now and all that stuff. But I have, I had 3 of the top 5 passing quarterbacks this year, passing yards and completions, everything along those lines. You guys actually called the game Hickory. That's my quarterback.
Oh,
Brandon
okay.
Stover.
Yeah.
So I train him, and a couple other guys, and it's taken off pretty well. And again, just to kind of help it, it's more of a one-on-one or small group type feel
Sure.
too. So I really feel like I'm even affecting, or influencing positively them more than even in bigger groups or as a coach on an 80-kid team or whatever.
Right. So we talk about the quarterback side of it, though. But like, and we talk about, you mentioned 5th graders getting ranked and
Right.
stuff. But even, is it too young for 8th graders to be taking trips to Ole Miss and Alabama, or is that just where we're at?
I think I've had this conversation with my brother a
And
lot
how can
too.
I mean, are you that good at? I mean, I don't know.
I've had that conversation with my brother a lot about. I think it's twofold. If it's almost like a keeping up with the Joneses, right? Because
That's
the
what
other 8th graders are doing it.
Right.
So if I'm not, am I behind? It's like specializing in a sport. We all play 3 sports.
Right.
But Johnny Jones is the best shortstop in the league, and he only plays baseball. He doesn't
Right.
play football and basketball.
Right.
So do we have to do that for him to be really good too?
Right.
Because if you don't, now you're jack of all. You're good in everything, but you're not great, right? You're a good basketball player. You're a good football player. Unless you're the elite athlete in town.
Right.
Right. Like our quarterback at Huff, he could play them all. Played them all forever. Unless you're that elite athlete, the whole like specializing all that stuff is coming up, and it's you either keep up with them and do it, or if you don't, you're gonna be left behind.
Right.
So I think that's a twofold thing. Like those 8th graders, they get invited there. I say go.
Go. At least enjoy the
They
experience.
might not
it's
talk to you
experience.
because you're in 8th grade.
Right. But
Right,
you're there.
and you're a tag along, or they, you're because the 5-star, your brother or your kid on your team or your go.
Right.
Because if not, the other kids are.
Right.
And to that point, like it's all recently changed a
Yeah.
lot more. I mean, we've kind of seen it coming down tracks, but 10 years ago, I was doing collegiate recruiting. I was helping high schoolers get like 2A, 3A, NAIA, that kind of stuff.
Right.
I was helping them out. Girl at Mountain Creek was a great success story. We got her scholarship down in South Florida. But my point is, like, those coaches back then, when I spoke to them, the college coaches, they wanted all around athletes. They preferred what other sports do they play.
And they
Can I
say
see
they
highlight
want
them?
that now.
Right.
I don't think
But
they
I
do.
don't think they do anymore.
They say, yeah, go do that. No, you don't.
So that's a fine line right there.
Or you
Because,
tell that kid play basketball, but you want him to come in mid-year.
right. That's
Tell
my
that kid to
point.
play baseball.
See, well,
I
and-
want you to play baseball, but I want you to come in January. So which one
Right.
is it?
Well, and
Can't be both.
I think, and when we talk about the purity of the sport too, changing
Yeah.
even in high school. I know, like, even from when my oldest played at Providence to my youngest playing at
Which
Providence.
was what years?
2013 through 2016 for my
Okay.
oldest.
Yep.
And then Nate played. Nate only played 2 years.
Okay.
He played. Gosh, I don't know.
Because
When
we came down and played you guys one year. I don't remember what year it was.
Well, Nate played Coach Ward's first year.
Okay.
So just like, and then his second year was the spring schedule
Oh, yeah,
because
okay.
of COVID.
Yeah.
And they actually were co-champs of their
Yeah.
their conference.
Yeah, they played
Nate
good.
played center.
Okay.
But what I get is from when Jack played to when Nate played, basically the season ended, and a week later, you're back at it.
Yep.
You're doing
That's
this. You're
exactly
weightlifting.
right.
You're doing this. You've got Zoom meetings. You've got team meetings. You got player meetings.
Year round.
And he's like, and to be and people know because I've told this story, it burned him out. He was
That's
like,
what we talked about the other
he
day.
stopped playing his junior
Burnout.
year, and I remember, and he sat me down. He just said, "I want to enjoy my junior year," and I think he knew he wasn't going to go. He had gone to like a couple of camps at Randolph
Right.
Macon. He went to
Yeah.
Coach Beamer's camp, and Nate, great story. Nate didn't make his 7th grade team at Crestdale.
Okay.
Got in the car, and I was just bawling because that's what dads do when your kid gets hurt or
Absolutely.
whatever. Not a tear in his eye. Said, "Now what?" He goes, "We go to work."
Yep.
That's huge.
Now big days for somebody that young.
And we met a guy by the name of Glenn DeVoe. I don't know if y'all know
Yeah,
Coach
okay.
Glenn or not. He runs a thing called Camp Lyman. Anyway, he started working with Glenn.
Yeah.
8th grade, made the team at Crestdale. Was a center, 5'6", 140 pounds.
Love it.
Was the 3rd string center. By game 3 or 4, he was starting.
Amen.
Went to Providence and played his freshman year as the center for starting JV.
Right.
5'6", still 150, 160 pounds. But then in between there and there, I guess he hit his growth spurt.
Right.
COVID hit. He bought his own weight set,
So he was in it.
and he went to about
Self-motivated.
5. He went from he got to about 5'9", 170, 175 pounds or whatever. But he was the starting center for the varsity
As a sophomore.
as a sophomore at 5, whatever. And
for a team that's not. I mean, they're
and,
playing football.
you know,
They're playing
no.
good football.
Played with a
They're
kid.
playing real teams. They're
Played with a
playing-
kid named Connor Drake.
Yep.
Who now is
Yep.
at Old Dominion or whatever.
Yep.
But that offensive line averaged about 300.
The running back last year ran the ball for 500 yards. in one
Luke
game.
Bailey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In one game.
Yeah, he had 9 touchdowns.
Right before the game we played them.
Yeah.
Huff 2 years ago.
2
or
years, yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
But long story short, it's just what you're doing is so important, and I want to go back to you because it's encouraging the kids. Like, so talk to me a little bit about your deal. It's
I will. One thing real quick about his deal, because I've been there to watch it. What he's doing with these, he trains my son. My son just started playing quarterback last year, okay? Before that, he was a running back and a D-back. And just watching, I step away.
Right.
I don't, because it's perfect for me because I'm not going to try to train him to be a quarterback.
Do you step away?
What? Yeah,
It's hard.
I do.
Unless I need him to catch.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
But what he's able to do with these kids out there individually, you can watch like 2 weeks later their progression, but he's doing on field and off field, right? He's able to relate. That's what he's so great at too. He's able to relate with these guys.
Right.
So because so many things have changed, and like my wife and I, like I told you, we started a company. Team Turse is the name of our. We started as an after-school athletic program, and the only thing that we were doing was getting kids active after school.
Right.
Because
Instead of
now
going home playing video games.
That's what it is.
Life.
That's
Yeah,
what
no,
it
You
is.
know how many times in my math class I hear, I can't wait to go and play Fortnite. I look outside, it's 80 and sunny.
Nobody's playing outside. Okay, so that's why we started it, because of everything that
Right.
us three
Sure,
know
just
Just
about
for
what's
being a
going on.
human being and healthy.
And then I started looking at it a little bit closer, and I started saying, my football players that I coach, these other kids, they're fighting battles we never fought. We didn't have social media. I know that he probably did, but we didn't have social media growing
No.
up playing football. So now these kids are influenced by social media, video games. That's why even coaching, like you talked about for how long you coached, it's so different now of how you resonate with a kid and what you have to do.
Right.
There's very little screaming, yelling.
Yep.
Go do this.
Don't believe
They will look at you and say, no, I'm not doing that. So you have to massage things a little bit. It's not really their fault. I don't believe it's their fault. Okay, because if you're given the keys to the computer and the laptop for unlimited amount of hours, that's instant gratification. That's this. Now I never talk like this, but my son's a throwback. He is old school. He lifts weights on his own like yours
Yeah.
did. He does all these things outside. He runs on the track team and he loves it. But my wife and I decided, so what else can we do? So we started mentoring kids. And what I told you way back 15 years ago when I was in Central Florida helping 8th graders go to 9th grade, now I'm helping kids in any sport they would like to play just understand what's coming their way.
Right.
Nutrition, sleep, working out, all of that. And that's what we're doing right now. And so where he's a specialty, like this guy is a guru in my book when it comes to working with quarterbacks.
Right.
I'm more at this point, I'm just trying to help kids. Because if you just throw your kid into a high school team and that maybe they have limited playing before that or maybe none like we've talked about, it's not just a sport we're dealing with now. it's the grades. It's everything.
culture.
It's a culture.
It's what their home
and,
life is
and
like.
we'll talk about.
They don't have a mentor. They don't have a mentor. They don't have a figure, a leader figure, and all that stuff goes hand in hand.
That's right. And that's what we're trying to do at BCLA, right?
Yep.
Bahakel Classical Academy. And Kevin can tell you he's a math teacher there, and he's also, he can teach history and everything else he can teach. We're trying to help grow the culture, right? Because Jennifer Magnet, the director of the school, is on the exact same thought process that we are, and and he's in there every day, and he can tell about it.
Yeah.
And how do you see it going inside the school with the student athletes, the football players,
And I think it's also a special situation too because there really isn't any culture.
Not
in my
yet.
opinion,
You're establishing it.
Yes.
There you go.
As opposed to take,
Which is
for
easy,
example, the
probably.
Jets,
It's
for
easier.
example.
It's probably easier.
They had a losing culture forever.
where was that?
Just say the Jets.
Okay, yeah.
Coach saw that.
It's hard to peel that onion, back
Yep.
as opposed to just starting fresh and building it. Because like I always say, when you take over or you start at a school that had bad losing culture, not just losing culture, but just bad culture.
Yep.
We don't act right. We don't show up on time. We're in the principal's office. We're suspended. We're after school detention. The teacher told me you said this to him or whatever. It goes so much hand in hand with what is actually going on. Starting it from scratch, not having to peel back the bad, so much bad to then start from scratch. Starting from the ground up is so much easier to start a culture.
Yeah.
I think.
And then we go back to the NIL and the portal that you were talking about. Do you guys think, I wanted to ask you this when we're talking about, is this why some of the older coaches are stepping away? Because
I think
it's
it's
too
twofold.
much?
College?
I heard Mick Cronin talk about this transfer portal, and he's
about
not
Chip
a fan
Kelly.
of it. Yeah. Well, what about
What made Chip Kelly leave being a head coach?
Right.
Go be the OC for whoever.
right? So he doesn't have to deal with all
Doesn't
that.
have to deal with it.
I think twofold. I think, and I can't remember when, Nick Saban said he walked away because, what was his kids were saying and doing in the locker room after they lost.
Yep.
It's one of the reasons he said he walked away.
Yep.
I think that just becomes, for me, it's old school versus new school.
Right.
And I think that to a point, and what I'm getting at is I go back to, and people who watch my podcast, and we talk, I'm a Titans fan.
Right.
The Titans and Oilers, Titans, whatever, have always been line it up,
Let's play.
run it down your throat. We're going to send Derrick Henry at you.
Anywhere,
You talk about
anytime,
Earl
no
Campbell, Eddie George, Derrick Henry.
Eric Dickerson.
The mentality, at least when we grew up,
Yep.
was I'm going to line up 11 guys.
Yep.
And even when I coached Pop Warner,
That's right.
I threw twice.
Right.
That was their
Maybe.
identity. They got a coach. That was
If
his
not,
identity.
and
Yeah.
we're going to line up and we're going to play football.
You know it's coming, but you still can't stop.
And now you get, these guys who come in, and the NFL to me nowadays is, if you don't have that quarterback who can sling it and throw 50 times, and I think for some coaches, with the game changing to that,
That's
I
what it's
think
changed to.
that's what, and they're like,
It's-
I can't coach that.
Right.
That's not me. That's not,
Yep.
My
I
style.
think, if you've got,
Really, Saban transitioned to that, didn't he?
Well, he transitioned. He only because what he said. So usually when you walked in Saban's office, and before transfer and really NIL more than transfer. Kids weren't transferring from Bama without money.
Right. No.
Right. So it used to be you walk in his office, he offers you, you're going there.
Right.
He said,
No
hell,
question.
wait.
Yeah.
He could hold his guys. But some of those kids, even though, I love Coach Saban and I love playing with Tua and Mac Jones and Jalen. Okay, great. But that school offered me $5 million, and you offered me $2 million, and my family needs it.
Yep.
And now Saban can't keep his kids there anymore because their family or whatever. Everybody's situation is different, but that's where he really got his word didn't mean anymore. Stay. He couldn't control it, and he left it.
So I think that the way the game, like I said, and the game has changed. If you're in the NFL, you're the guys the teams that are successful are wide open.
Yep, with exception to the Titans.
Except for that, we were the only team that would
and it worked. So other teams tried it, and it didn't
Right.
work.
Yeah, you have
Colts,
to have all the
Jonathan
great
Taylor,
pieces.
that
Yep.
didn't work.
Yep.
Derrick
They're
Henry
the
was
one exception to the
Yeah.
rule. If you can't throw the ball, you cannot win in modern NFL football. Everybody, even on TV, I hear guys saying, "Got to run the ball." You don't need to establish the run. You throw the ball to run.
Yeah.
You don't
But it was
run to
vice
set up
versa
the
for
throw.
the and back when Derek was, and I still think he's listening. I think he's going to go crazy with Baltimore. I think it'll be
think so,
awesome.
too.
No question.
But and they would run it 30 times a game.
was
Nobody
the
in the
only-
NFL would run the ball.
he was the exception to the new rule.
because they knew fourth quarter they were going to wear you out.
Yep.
So I think that has a lot to do with it that way. So you guys combined are putting together a camp.
Yes, we're putting together a camp. It's going to be hosted at Bahakel Leadership Academy. Details on dates, we're looking at anywhere from 10 days from now to 45 days from now. There's a lot we talked about earlier,
Sure.
7-on-7 going on.
Yep.
A lot of things going on right now, and we want to make sure we do
People
it
getting back from spring break.
Yeah,
Yep.
and we have
7-on-7 in other sports.
Yeah.
other sports. We have a lot of great people that are going to be with us. We have mental strength coach. We have a all-conference guard, tackle. We have other coaches, high-level coaches. Coach Olsen be here. And so we're going to have a 2-day camp. It's going to be basically 8 a.m. to noon, Saturday and a Sunday. And our website, if I'm allowed,
Have at it.
www.teamturse.com. We'll have all the details on the camp. So if you go on there, also Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah, you got social
And
media?
Social media, yes. And Coach Olsen and I have partnered, and he'll tell you about his independent camps of that. But it's nice to be hosting a camp at a new facility where people, like when you ask, where's that? A lot of people have no clue
Right.
where we are. And so other kids can come. It's open to anybody. Rising 7th graders to 11th graders are going to come and work out for two days and be a lot of fun.
Cool.
We have music and all
kinds
kinds
of
of stuff going on.
What you got coming up? I know you got that in
Yep, so we have
combination.
that, and then June 21st. Oh, can I check real quick?
Absolutely.
June, it's going to be the last week of June 24th through the 27th, so 4 days. We have our Back to Basics. So my dad started a camp. We were campers, then counselors, all in New Jersey, called Back to Basics, where he would hold it every summer at our high school. And, you turned in from, like I said, campers to then, counselors
Sure.
to then moving on. And we brought it down here when he moved down here. Him and my mom moved down here to be by kind of the whole family in this area-ish. So we started it down here. We took a year off last year, but we're coming back now for 1 week. We usually hold it at a few different spots, but we're going to come back from the 24th to the 27th. It's 9 to 12:30 Monday through Thursday, and it's usually it's called Back to Basics, for a reason. Like we were mentioning, prefacing earlier of, they're going to come and they're going to learn, right? There's not going to be a lot of, it's going to be fun. We're going to play games at the end, touch football, all that kind of stuff, but they're going to learn some valuable tips, not only in life skills, right? We'll have speakers, we'll have Luke Kuechly and Christian McCaffrey if he's here, and all those kind of guys that Greg has, the contacts with, and I have the contacts with, to kind of just come out and speak, and just plays to our mantra, plays to our role of trying to help the young kids, right? Have them approached, and surrounded and spoken to by people that have done it,
Right.
people they know that I've seen on TV, right? And they say, no, you can do it. Like that goes a long way. Right?
Amen.
Hearing people say you can do it, as opposed to,
That's a big one.
you can't, right?
Yep.
Like even in teaching, right? Like my first day is the one stuff you're gonna do to get a good grade. You do this stuff, you'll get a good grade, as opposed to everybody else if you don't do this, you're gonna fail. If you don't do this, you're gonna fail. That doesn't work,
Yeah.
Right.
right? So I think all that kind of stuff is gonna be great. They'll have a great time at that week. And then July 20th, the next month, July 20th at same school, BC, LA, we'll have our quarterback camp. So my buddy and I, Balin, Trujillo, he and I run quarterback camps all over the country. He's got a pretty big following down in South Florida, so we run one down there, and then up here too as well, now that we have the field and the space kind of all hosted by Bonnie Cohn, which is great, the leadership, and Miss Magnette, the director, and everybody's really behind it. So
Yeah, and during these camps, Miss Magnette's opening the door so students can come and tour the building.
Oh, cool.
It's brand new. It's beautiful. We
Awesome.
have an upper and a lower school on campus.
Yep,
So
that's
the lower
fantastic.
school is K through 6, and the upper school is 7 through 12.
and it's a
So
brand new building, not a capacity. It's just a great atmosphere, a great
no
place
question.
to be. Yep.
And you're welcome out anytime.
Yeah.
We'd
Well,
love to have
yeah,
you.
Especially
absolutely.
when-
We'll definitely hook up
Especially
when
spring ball. Yeah.
We'll definitely do that.
Of course.
Matt,
Such a
thanks
great
for your
time.
time, man.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
it.
much.
Kevin?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
you, brother.
I appreciate you
Thanks for
having
all
us.
you guys do.
Yeah.
Make sure you check out them on social media. Check out their camps. Check out BahakelSports.com. We'll, of course, keep you up to date on all of that through our website, through our YouTube channel, through the podcast, and through all our social media. So thanks for joining us on this edition of the 704 High School Highlight Podcast. Make sure, like I said, like, subscribe, comment. We'd love to keep in touch. And until next time, have a great day.